That is the amazing voice of Charlie Chech, who is just 19 years of age. He's a local Sydney singer and he's about to release his first EP, which is an extended play album. And I've got Charlie on the line. Good afternoon, Charlie. How are you?
Good, thank you, Merran. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm extremely well. It's great to have you back on. I interviewed you maybe 6 months ago. I can't quite remember how long ago it was, but you were about to perform at the Hornsby RSL in a solo show, and I believe you sold that show out, and you've now done 3 shows at the Hornsby RSL, which is nice and local for our listeners. And congratulations on selling those shows out. But you've been very busy, haven't you, Charlie? You've recorded an EP.
I have. Yeah, a lot has happened since we last spoke. But this EP has been in the works and in the pipeline, since before we even spoke. It takes a little while to organise and sort of construct something of this nature, but it's now out in the world. I released it on the 29th of September, but excitingly, we're going to release it in a show format on the 26th of October, which is really crept up on me. So that's in a week and a half down at Lazy Bones at Marrickville. But yeah, I've got an EP to my name and out on streaming services, which is a very surreal experience, yeah.
Fantastic. Now, you just explained to me when we were chatting before you came on air the difference between an LP and an EP. Can you explain that to my listeners?
Yeah, so an EP is sort of a mini condensed album. So it's an extended play, and an LP is long play. So it's for artists who are just starting to establish themselves and want to put out a product, obviously, professional recording. But LPs can be very costly, and for artists who are just trekking out on their journey and who don't have sort of, major financial backing, an EP is a good option for artists who, otherwise don't have all of those avenues available to them. And, you can do a lot with an EP. You can be creative and craftful and, and you can fill it up. It's only maximum of about half an hour, and my EP, Checkmate, has a running time of about, 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so. But as you heard on that song there, your latest trick, the original Dire Straits tune doesn't actually have a sax outro. It's got a trumpet outro, so we put a sax outro in, and my saxophone player who played on this recording, Graham Jesse, he just riffed all the way through, and
sounds great.
Sort of
I loved
starter
it.
Product to put forward.
Yeah. Now you've put 5 rethought classics together. You start with Summer Wind. Your latest trick, which we just heard, I also played earlier in the show, Almost Like Being in Love, which is a classic Fat Sinatra, Tony Bennett kind of track that all the old crooners sang. And then you're doing a version of Billy Joel's New York State of Mind. And that's got to be one of my favourite songs, Charlie. You're very...
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a Billy Joel fan from way back. I was around as a teenager in the 70s, and that was my kind of music. So I love Billy Joel. So I'm going to play that at the end of this interview for our listeners.
Beautiful.
So they can hear the kind of job you're doing in your cover versions of these amazing songs. And so how was it recording with Clive Lendich? Tell us about him.
Well, Clive Lendich was, incredibly valuable to the production and the formation of the Checkmate EP. I couldn't have done it without him. He was the one of the chief architects and primarily the chief musical architect of this project. The EP had been on my mind for a very long time. But when I first met Clive, it was actually at a gig last year, and that's sort of the serendipity of the entertainment industry. You meet people and you develop connections with people in really unassuming sort of scenarios. But we connected, and I called him and I said, look, I've been wanting to put out an album and an EP for some time, and I want to have a product and a CD, a physical CD for people to purchase at shows. So he said, it's a great idea. So we sort of agreed, and we had a consensus that we didn't want to recreate something that had already been done before. You know, there have been a lot of up-and-coming, you know, jazz, crooning, vintage pop artists that have come along and have sort of repurposed the works of Sinatra and Count Basie and Quincy Jones and these marvelous sort of composers and orchestrators. And we put our heads together and said, we've got a very vast interest in music and in our musical tastes. And I obviously love Billy Joel and a lot of his songs, you know, it's Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, Moving Out, but, you know, New York State of Mind was a song that really resonated with me. But also Your Latest Trick, I used to hear this song in the car when I was a kid. So we sort of agreed with each other that we can combine the old, you know, jazz standards and some pop standards from the 70s and 80s and put a fresh coat of paint on them. And we had, you know, a couple of months of pre-production and back and forth, and Clive was writing the charts and I was making sure that they were in the right key and they were to sort of the vision that we had. And sort of all went on from there really, really quickly. And we got in the studio. We went to Studio 301, which is, you know, undoubtedly one of the best studios in Australia and the world. You've had artists like Prince and Coldplay and Elton John and Lady Gaga all go through the doors of 301 and record masterpieces. So it was a very much a dream come true. And we had 2 days in Studio 301. The first day was tracking down the backing tracks, and we had the band come in, and these are all, you know, legendary Australian musicians. We had Dave Pritchett Blunt on piano and keyboard, and you know, we had obviously on saxophone Graham Jesse, and it was mainly a small ensemble, and we didn't want to go anything over that. We didn't want to push the boundaries. We didn't want a big band. We just wanted a 5-piece small ensemble because that's enough. And we had a lot of fun. And back to back, we tracked them down on the first day and with vocals on the second day. And Clive, who's very much a genius, went away and he produced and he mastered and mixed the tracks. And then now we've got that final product.
You got the results.
It seems like a real distant dream, but when you sort of put your mind to something and actually start discussing it, it all becomes very real very quickly. And we've also got it in physical format as a CD. A lot of people still use CDs. Don't listen to the common myth out there that CD players are quickly vanishing. They're not. I know that they're still in widely
many
used
homes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so we sold those at the Hornsby show in May as a little sort of off-the-market bonus. But I officially launched it on, streaming services on the 29th of September, and those physical copies are actually on sale on my website, www.charliechech.com. So that's free. That's available for anyone to purchase for a very affordable $15 plus postage, and we'll mail that out to anyone who wants to purchase a copy. But yeah, I'm very proud of it.
If you're a premium member of Spotify, you can just download it and listen to Charlie all you like, which is wonderful. Now, Charlie, you're a local. You sing with the local church choir, the Armenian Apostolic Church in Chatswood, don't you?
Mm. I do. I've both my parents are Armenian, or four of my grandparents are Armenian. It's something that I'm very proud of, and hold dear to my heart as a sense of identity and heritage. And I've been brought up in both as an Australian, but also a proud Armenian. I speak Armenian, and obviously I sing at the Armenian church. And the Armenian church is in your very
local listener area.
Local,
yes.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's in Chatswood, and
down the road.
We've got an Armenian church program on a Sunday evening from 6 p.m, I think. There's an hour-long show, church service every weekend on
Beautiful.
Northside Radio. So we've got plenty of Armenian listeners. So if you're out there listening and you didn't know that Charlie was Armenian, he is. He's a local and he's got a fantastic EP that's about to be launched properly in the Lazy Bones Bar, Lounge and Restaurant in 294 Marrickville Road, Marrickville, on Thursday the 26th of October at 7 o'clock. So do make sure you go and get some tickets to that if you'd love to hear Charlie's voice again. I'm going to play the Billy Joel song, but you just have to tell the listeners the amazing story of when you were just 16 and you got to sing with Michael Bublé. Tell us how that happened.
Yeah, I can't not tell this story. It was just, again, one of those mind-boggling instances that you think is, only possible in dreams. But I was 15 at the time. I was, just had been singing for about a month and a half, and I was a very sort of big fan of Michael Bublé, and I went to watch him obviously live, and he's a very astute fellow. He's highly observant, and he spotted me with my sign, and he's probably thinking, look, anything could happen here. This could be just completely disastrous, and the show could fall off the rails. But it didn't. It somehow didn't. We linked together, adrenaline and all, and we belted out, But Until Somebody Loves You, that iconic Dean Martin tune, and it was, we sort of raised the roof off. There were 20,000 people, and I don't think they knew what to make of it. But it was something that'll stick with me for life.
It's the start of your career.
Always treasure.
You were
it did. It was sort of
just short of your 16th
It was the unofficial
birthday.
unofficial launch of the musical trajectory. So I'll always be forever grateful for that experience.
That's fantastic. Well, it did bring you your claim to fame, singing live with Michael Bublé, and now you've created your own EP. So listeners, have a listen to this wonderful version of Charlie singing Billy Joel's New York State of Mind. And if you love it, you can stream him on Spotify or other streaming services, or you can buy his EP from his website, charliechech.com.au. Go for it. Have a listen. Thanks so much for chatting with us, Charlie.
Thank you, Merran. Thanks for having me. It was wonderful.
Cheers.
Some folks like to get away, take a holiday from the neighborhood.